Welcome back to another Micmac Tabletop review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Taurus G2C 9mm semi-automatic pistol. This is the Taurus G2C. As you can see, it's a clean and simple compact 9mm semi-automatic pistol. I picked this one up new, on sale last year at a local gun store. The regular price was about $270, but I got it at a special price that day for only $200 out the door, which I thought was amazing at the time. Now, to be frank, $200 is actually about what most people tell me they paid for theirs, so I'm not so sure how special that price was. Still, $200 seemed like a really pretty good price at the time for a new double-stacked 9mm pistol that came with 2 magazines. I know, it's a Taurus. And I understand that Taurus's past reputation has suffered a bit. But I've got to say, this G2C seemed like a fairly nice gun for the money. I mean, it's got an accessory rail, external thumb safety, and a trigger safety. It's got an adjustable rear sight. The grip texture seems pretty good, and the gun feels good in the hand. Seems like a good solid build. It's even got a loaded chamber indicator here, and it came with 2 12-round magazines. And I've got to say, for $200, it really looks pretty promising. True, it could be junk, but it might also be a real bargain. So which is it? Okay, for comparison, the G2C is a bit larger than a SIG P365 or a Glock G43. So technically, it's not really a pocket pistol, but it's also smaller than many compacts. As such, some might refer to it as a subcompact. In fact, it's a bit smaller than one of my own compact everyday carry firearms, the Smith & Wesson M&P 9C. Like the Taurus G2C, the Smith & Wesson M&P is also a polymer frame 12-round double-stack compact 9mm. Still, the G2C is actually smaller overall and considerably lighter. In addition, a new Smith & Wesson M&P 9C will cost you over $600 today. Even for a used one, expect to pay at least $300. And by the way, you'll find similar higher prices for that SIG or Glock, new or used. So in my opinion, for someone with limited funds or as a possible first-time self-defense carry pistol for a new shooter, the Taurus G2C might just be a good option to fill that need. A new compact double-stack 9mm handgun for about $200 sounds almost too good to be true. So is the G2C a real bargain or a waste of good money? Well, let's check it out. By the way, as a reminder, I have no sponsors and I don't receive anything from companies to promote their products. And most importantly, while I gather information off the internet for my reviews, the opinions and the views I express are all my own. Now, before we go any further, let's make sure this gun is cleared first. And by the way, if you enjoy this review, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Now, I'll admit I've never been a real fan of Taurus firearms. My first experience with Taurus was a Taurus TCP-380 I bought many years ago. I bought it because it was cheap and regretted it immediately because I thought it was poorly made and every other round would jam. I traded it off that same week. Since then, I usually just walk right past the Taurus guns in the display cases, but I admit that I have indeed bought a few Taurus guns over the years, and I've done reviews on them in the past. To be candid, I have to say that most have actually been surprisingly better firearms than expected. The sad thing is, though, once a company has acquired a bad reputation, it's really hard to win back people's interest and respect. It's no secret that some years ago, Taurus struggled with quality. The good news is that Taurus was able to get its act together and started producing some pretty good firearms, and still do today. But the reality is that it usually takes something special to bring me back to looking at a Taurus. And there are indeed a few things that have done just that. First, their prices are usually hard to beat. Price does matter to me, and so I like that. Second is Taurus's lifetime warranty that they'll honor even if you're not the original owner. I really like that. I mean, how many companies even have that? And finally, very positive, frank reviews that have given rightful praise were due for Taurus. My best example happened about 5 years ago when the Taurus TX22 had been named Gun and Ammo's 2019 Handgun of the Year. I bought one, and yes, I'll admit, it's a really excellent 22 pistol for a very, very good price. Without a doubt, one of my best purchases. It's well known that the TX22 was a major success for Taurus, helping to change the perception of many regarding Taurus. And now it's been this Taurus G2C pistol that some believe have also helped restore more credibility to the Taurus name, which is one of the reasons I picked this one up recently. Price, lifetime warranty, and good reviews. But let's back up and talk a little bit about the Taurus company itself. Taurus started off as a small Brazilian tooling manufacturer that produced its first pistol back in 1941. When the contract for Beretta's Brazilian manufacturing plant expired, it was sold basically intact, including its Beretta's designs and machinery to Taurus. This is why much of what Taurus produced early on looks so much like the Beretta handguns from that era. And along with its Beretta-trained workforce, Taurus began in 1968 to import their pistols into the United States through American distributors. And by 1982, Taurus created an affiliate company based in Miami, Florida, to better support their U.S. presence. Taurus initially struggled with quality issues, but with new management and a renewed commitment to excellence, Taurus has dramatically improved its product and even its image. Now, since 1991, Taurus has developed and manufactured numerous handguns in the United States from their Miami, Florida location. Currently, Taurus also has a Georgia location, and most of the Taurus firearms are actually produced in the U.S. Taurus has produced a rather extensive number of pistols and revolvers in numerous variations. With good quality, good pricing, and an excellent guarantee, Taurus firearms are becoming a respectable firearm option. Not only that, but did you know that Taurus is second only to Glock for importing large numbers of firearms into the United States? So Taurus, as a gun company, is certainly a major player. Okay, what about this Taurus G2C though? Well, the G2C is basically an updated Taurus PT-111 Millennium Pro. The PT-111 came out in 1997, and you may recall that it was the subject of a lawsuit and a recall back in 2014. Without admitting guilt, the company paid $39 million, extended the warranties, and recalled the pistols for repair. Indeed, it's no secret that the Taurus company has had some issues in the past, but Taurus moved on and produced the G2C in 2015. Now, while the G2C looks very much like the PT-111, the G2C has been designed from the ground up, and as such is actually a fairly different gun. Yes, overall you can see the similarities between these two 9mm compacts. The size and the format as well as the controls are similar, but the takedown format on the G2C is now Glock-like with these tabs. There's a trigger safety on the G2C. There are improved texture grips, and most noticeably, there's no longer that Taurus key lock security system. Now, by the way, note that the G2C has been the most popular pistol made by Taurus and one of the top-selling firearms in the U.S. during the past few years. Like Ruger in the U.S., Taurus is a big company in Brazil and makes a huge number of firearms, which allows them to better price their guns. And oh yes, the Taurus G2C itself is made in Brazil, where the cost of manufacturing is much lower, and that explains why the G2C can be priced so low. As for specifications, the Taurus G2C can be had in either 9mm or 40 Smith & Wesson. The slide is steel, the barrel is stainless, the frame is polymer. There are a number of color combinations. Sights are high profile 3-dot, fixed front, screw adjustable rear sight. There's an accessory rail here. Takedown tabs are here on either side. There's an internal trigger safety. There's a manual exterior thumb safety down for fire. It's not ambidextrous. There's a slide stop release here. Magazine releases here and can be swapped to the opposite side. Magazines are steel, 12+1. Includes 2 magazines with bright yellow followers and good pinky extensions. Height is 5 inches, width is 1.25 inches, length is 6.25 inches, weight 21.15 ounces. As for packaging, the G2C came in a simple cardboard box. It came with 2 magazines, a lock, the typical paperwork, including a manual. Now what more would you expect for just $200? To be candid, I was really impressed that it came with 2 magazines at that price. Now before we hit the range, let's talk a little bit about function. I've already said enough about the G2C's features, so I'll just share my personal impressions regarding the operation of this gun. The first thing I noticed when I picked this gun up was the grip stippling and the solid feel and the nice balance of this pistol. The grip texture is where it needs to be and not where it doesn't. I find that interesting. I don't know what I expected, but I was somewhat surprised that the G2C felt so good in my hand. The grip contours and placement of controls all felt very good. Nice beaver tail back here. The scallops are where they should be for finger placement. There's a little undercut under the trigger guard which allows the shooter to get a higher grip. Racking the slide open was very easy, although the slide serrations are only on the rear of the slide, and there's sort of a loose sound when open. No looseness when closed. There's a loaded chamber indicator at the top of the slide here. The magazine ejected nicely with a press of my thumb on the well-positioned release. 12-round magazines with bright yellow followers look shiny and well-made. Nice pinky extension. I found the magazines a little stiff to load, so I used my Maglula loader to assist. Pressing down on the slide, catch, release smoothly and easily release the slide. The magazine returned with a nice firm click. Note that I'm using dummy rounds here for demonstration purposes. Racking around into the chamber, you can see the loaded chamber indicator on top here. Very nice. The safety can be easily swept up for on or down for off with my thumb. Pointing, the grip angle appears to be pretty good, allowing for natural targeting for me. Sights are 3-dot, and the white dots are good, but having the adjustable rear sight on a gun at this price is something you just wouldn't expect. Trigger take-up is about an 1/8 inch with a long, somewhat gritty pull to the break at about 6 pounds. Reset is short with an audible tactical click. The trigger acts like a single action short pull trigger at this point. There's a restrike capability with this trigger, meaning that although it's a striker fired gun, you don't have to rack the slide to be able to pull the trigger to fire again. Released all the way out, the trigger acts like a double action trigger at this point. It's a little odd, but actually pretty nice trigger arrangement. Okay, now let's just see how this gun performs at the range. At the range, I've got a 6-inch target set out to 25 feet. This is my typical training distance. This gun feels good and solid. Good sights. For a 9mm, the recoil feels just fine to me. Let's move the target out to 35 feet for a better challenge. This is a nice compact 9mm. I may be jerking the trigger a bit here with my shots going lower left a little. Okay, staying at 35 feet, let's try that again. That's much better. I had to pay attention to where my finger is pulling the trigger, but no doubt I'm more on target here. Heck, I'm feeling pretty confident, so why not push the target out to 50 feet and see how I do. So really a pretty nice compact shooter in my opinion. I actually kind of like it. Now for a 6-inch target at 50 feet, I think that was actually pretty good. I need a little practice with this trigger, but probably as good as I can do with any of my other pistols with just iron sights, to be honest. As for cons, let's start with acknowledging that the G2C may not offer much to interest the avid or experienced shooter or those of us who own a Glock, HK, SIG, or maybe even a Smith & Wesson M&P. It's just a basic, simple, double-stacked 9mm compact. And yes, it's a Taurus. Let's face it, there certainly isn't much status in that. And there are undoubtedly better options out there. And beyond the company name, the G2C's trigger has a rather long pull, and it's not smooth or crisp. Personally, I found it to be very gritty and too soft for my liking. And having to pull the trigger all the way back made proper positioning of my finger a little awkward for me and my long fingers. I tended to want to pull with my finger joint, not optimal. But it's true that this is just my preference, so I'm not sure I can actually say it's a con. Now, speaking of preferences, I grew up with the 1911 format and carried a Walter PPK for years, so I'm used to sweeping off a safety. But there are those that argue that with the dongle trigger safety and long pull, what's the need for an external thumb safety on the G2C? True, most companies are moving away from the external thumb safeties, so I get it. But again, I think it's a matter of preference. As for removing the Taurus key lock security system from the G2C, good move. Finally, there are very few aftermarket accessories compatible with the G2C. But in my opinion, as long as you can find a good tactical light, and maybe a laser light combo unit, you probably have all you need for home defense. But no, the G2C isn't designed to be a tactical pistol like many models hitting the marketplace today. Now, I agree that when it comes down to it, overall, these cons aren't really all that much. So how about pros? The first point I'd like to make is that the G2C looks good, basic, and simple. It looks proper. I think that's actually good. Second, let's get right to price. For the money, the G2C has to be the best deal going. I mean, really, for the budget price point, there isn't anything that even comes close. Yes, I could wish for a few improvements, but remember what I paid for this gun, $200 for a new gun. And it came with two 12-round magazines. No other budget stacked compact 9mm can match that deal, and I really can't say there were any problems with this gun's performance either. Speaking of which, the third pro on my list is indeed the G2C's performance. Sure, the trigger may be gritty, but if I didn't know it was a Taurus and that I paid only $200 for it, I wouldn't have guessed that because the gun's performance was just that good. I had no problems with the ammo feed, even with cheap stuff. I had no problems with accuracy except for getting used to the trigger, and even there I considered it a personal fit minor issue given my performance. And I had no problems with the sights, the fit, feel, handling, or function. The grips are nice and tacky, good feeling magazine pinky extensions, and is available in 40 Smith & Wesson. Yes, there's a bit of overall roughness in the gun's function, which I think might improve with use, but it's nice and tight and lighter in function than you might expect. And finally, so far the G2C has been very reliable. No problems. Yep, I'm impressed. Disassembly is Glock-like. Remove the magazine, move the slide back slightly, pull the tabs on either side of the frame down, and pull the slide forward and off the frame. Remove the spring and guide rod, then remove the barrel. And that's it. Reassembly is just the reverse. Return the barrel to the frame, return the guide rod and spring to the slide, return the slide to the frame, racking the slide back, return the magazine, and test for function. That's it. As for price, we've already talked quite a bit about the price for the Taurus G2C since its price is a major feature. But summarizing, the manufacturer's suggested retail price for the G2C is $241. and the average used price is suggested to be about $145 today, according to Gendertron.com. But as I've already said, it would appear that the actual national sales price of a new G2C will likely be closer to around $200. In my opinion, even at $240, a new G2C would still be a really good bargain for what you get. Now, before we end today's video, I'd like to remind you that if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe down below. And thanks for watching. So what we have here with the Taurus G2C is a budget double-stack compact 9mm pistol that appears to exceed expectations given its brand and price. True, I've not put 1,000 rounds through this gun yet, but so far its operation has been absolutely flawless, regardless of ammo. You might be able to buy a new 9mm high point for less, but even if you had to buy the Taurus G2C at full retail, I've got to believe, given the choice, you'd choose the G2C given its overall build, reliability, feel, and function. In my opinion, for all the reasons I've already mentioned in this review, the G2C would make an excellent first pistol for a new shooter. The G2C not only looks good, is a gun that could truly be relied upon as a carry weapon or properly outfitted for home defense. Now, by the way, in my opinion, any home defense firearm at the very least should be equipped with a tactical light, and better yet, a light laser combo system. In reality, I appreciate that owning a dedicated home defense firearm in addition to an everyday carry may be beyond the reach of many, but the G2C may realistically offer that possibility. Here's my G2C equipped with an affordable tactical light laser combo, $25 from Amazon, providing a very reasonable solution. So seriously, this is a reliable double-stack 12+1 round capacity firearm at a price that is simply just too good to ignore. Wrapping up, there's no doubt that the Taurus G2C has rightfully earned its proper place in the market. Check one out, and I think you'll see why. In my opinion, the G2C is much more than just an affordably priced compact. Of course, it's not perfect, but I found this one to be a more than just adequate performer. Does it outperform my Smith & Wesson M&P 9C? No, nor would it likely most higher price options, but the G2C is no slouch either. If I were forced to choose between the two, would I choose the Taurus over the Smith & Wesson to carry? Well, probably not, but that's not really a fair question for me because I own both and I have a choice. A better question would be, if money were an issue and I were looking for a good double-stack 9mm carry firearm, would I wait and save until I could get something with more street credit in the experienced shooter community, or would I choose to do more than adequately fill my need with this Taurus G2C? Given what I've experienced with this one, for a price that is really quite impressive, I've got to admit, the Taurus G2C has won me over. Your choice might be different, which is certainly okay. But let me leave you with my final thought here, and that is, in my opinion, any weapon is better than no weapon, and any weapon you carry is better than the one you left at home. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll be back for my next tabletop review. Until next time, stay safe.